In 2017, Jacob Haendel checked into an emergency room, complaining of his newfound high-pitched voice and balance issues. The newly married chef was told he was probably having a stroke, but he wondered what type of stroke lasted for 3 weeks. After some persuading, the 28-year-old underwent an MRI, and what those scans revealed was much scarier than the doctor's initial assumption. The official diagnosis is acute toxic progressive leukoencephalopathy, a disease that never left any survivors. It's a rare brain condition that's caused by exposure to substance use or environmental toxins.
I inhaled lots of things voluntarily and involuntarily. Being a head chef, you scrub down these hot surfaces with these weird cleaners. I would cook food from all over the world. I definitely breathed a lot of stuff in those hood exhaust fans. They don't always work great. And then also I did have some substance abuse. I smoked cigarettes. So I did inhale a lot of things, but I asked them, what caused this? What toxin did I inhale? And all they could give me is most likely a pesticide, but we don't know.
Unfortunately, they knew all too well how Haendel's disease would progress. Within a couple of weeks, he wouldn't be able to walk. By month 2, sitting in a wheelchair would become unbearable. Haendel would be bedbound by months 3 and 4, while also fighting against other issues that pop up while the white matter of his brain is being attacked. He'd quickly lose his ability to eat, swallow, and talk, eventually slipping into a coma. By the 6th month, doctors told Haendel he'd be dead. The news felt like a ton of bricks, and as someone already struggling with addiction, Haendel's first instinct was automatic.
I was like, what does it matter? I'm dead anyway. So I went back to that, actually had some substance abuse right there in the hospital. Medical staff walked in. I think it was just a nurse. She was like, essentially saw me getting high. And she was like, whoa, I'll be right back. And they just brought a whole team of people in. And they were like, maybe we didn't explain this right, but like, you really need to decide how you want to live your last days.
That conversation halted Haendel's self-destruction. In its absence, he began to hope for the impossible.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to fight this. I'm going to live out my last days. Maybe I can make it through this. Even though they told me no one else has ever survived this. I remember something my dad said to me very early on, kind of whispered in my ear. He was like, you can defy the odds. Defy the odds.
But all of the optimism in the world wouldn't stop the disease's progression. Haendel lost his balance and most of his mobility by month 2. Soon he couldn't move, eat, or breathe on his own.
I had this thing I would say to myself, well, can't get any worse. Sure enough, the next day I couldn't pee. It was just my bladder was protruding out of my stomach. And I was like, oh, now I lost that. And then I would say, well, it can't get any worse. And then my voice started to go. Diagnosis, May 25th. And I said my last word. My last word was towards the end of October.
Although he was fully paralyzed, Haendel still had full control of his thoughts. And though he couldn't respond, the medical staff would always greet him and explain why they were in his room. But soon Haendel realized that most of the staff had stopped acknowledging him altogether.
I didn't think much of it. I'm like, okay, I'm just here, but I can't do anything. So why would, I'm not a conversationalist. So 2 nurses are working on me and one says to the other, I got to tell you about this real awkward hookup I had last night. And the other nurse is kind of giggling. Now, me internally, I'm like, oh man, this is great. This is I can't wait to hear where the story's going. The other nurse is giggling. Maybe you shouldn't talk in front of the patient. Very casually, she just goes, oh, him? He can't hear you. He's brain dead anyway.
Haendel panicked. How could he have so many thoughts and be brain dead?
They think I'm brain dead? Am I brain dead? I mean, I was contemplating. I thought I might be brain dead, actually. And I'm like, is this a hallucination? I quickly kind of came to the realization, though. I'm like, no, they're perceiving me this way and they don't know. And I'm like, that is scary. And I knew, I was in the neuro ICU of MGH. I'm like, how many other comatose patients are in here talking to themselves, screaming in pain?
Often when Haendel recounts this story, People comment on how terrible it was for the nurses to speak so callously about a patient. However, Haendel was grateful for the knowledge it gave him.
I don't think I would have known. And I value that. It's like someone gave me the insight. I would like to think I would fight anyway, but it put me on a mission. I was like, they need to know this. They need to know that I am like fully intact here. I got memories from childhood. My executive functioning is like arguably better than it had ever been. I mean, I was like, you learn a lot about yourself when you talk to yourself all day long.
But since Haendel couldn't even blink, he was at a loss for how to get the doctors to realize that he was still the same guy he had always been, just trapped in a body that wouldn't move. However, this challenge quickly took a backseat to all of the pain he was drowning in. For starters, Haendel's skin was hypersensitive.
Even somebody walking by me, creating a breeze, would burn my skin. Somebody rolling me over, as I do in the hospital, could like really hurt if they banged my foot on something or my toe, even though it was probably extremely light. They would feel like I just got hit with a baseball bat.
He also developed a condition called autonomic storming, where the sympathetic nervous system becomes overactive.
Had fevers of 106.2. Minutes later, I could be hypothermic. I'm down to like 95.8. Really bizarre. People said I kind of looked like I was possessed. Like my back is arching, like I'm just I'd be in triple tachycardia sometimes, so like over 200 beats per minute. Also, like the weight of a blanket in the hospital was like, I felt like I was being crushed. And I was always burning up. I was hot anyway. I didn't want any blankets. But they would put these blankets on me and my hands would be stuck under them. And I'd be like, not that I could move anyway, but I'm like, get this heavy thing off me.
Even having an itch caused him immense physical and mental anguish. Haendel was on 50 different medications to manage his disease and the additional conditions it caused, but nothing was easing his pain. Weeks passed by with seemingly no progress, death slowly inching closer and closer. It was in December that Haendel first heard talk of being taken off life support. Doctors had told his wife at the time that there wasn't much hope for him to live past Christmas.
I was kind of ready to die. Like, I didn't want to, but I was like, yeah, they told me, like, no one survives this. Like, I'm tired. I'm ready. It's okay. I felt like kind of as good as you can be for someone's who's like, I would be stuck like this forever, which is honestly a lot scarier than death at that point. I was like, oh man, potentially 15 more years of this, 10 months. I didn't even know it was 10 months at the time. Felt like 50 years. And when I heard of that, it's time to consider withdrawing life support. The immediate thought, which I think a thought within an hour was probably like, I hope I die soon, was no, don't do that because I'm still here.
Thankfully, that option never became a reality. And though Haendel wasn't getting any better, he also wasn't able to continue with his hospice care. Patients are only eligible for 6 months, and against all odds, Haendel had exceeded his time.
I was dying, but I wasn't dead, and it was too long for hospice. So they sent me back to an internal medicine unit of MGH. Kind of didn't know what to do with me. I overheard the man in charge of my care, who was ultimately the man that noticed something, be like, yeah, so he's not getting better, but he's not dying, and we don't know what to do with him, but I'm going to put him on one of my complex care units, and he's going to be okay. We're going to take good care of him, make sure he's comfortable.
Haendel was back at Massachusetts General Hospital for about a month with no change to his brain scans or overall health. But then, as the rest of the nation was celebrating the 4th of July, Haendel was making history with his own independence. While the doctors were doing their normal rounds, one paused, asking the rest of the team if they had also just seen Haendel's hand move.
I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's my shot. And then I immediately hear, no, it's involuntary. I got his brain scan right here. Impossible. And then I hear, hey, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, do that again. So now it's really is my shot, and I'm tensing up my body, and I'm like, please move something. I don't even know what I moved, but I'm like, just do something. You got to be noticed. And as I'm saying to myself, I can't do it, I hear, wow, he's actually doing it.
And just like that, Haendel had an official change in medical status. Stay tuned for the next segment where we reveal Haendel's miraculous journey to recovery and his new passion that's revolutionizing accessibility for the disabled community. You can find out more about Jacob Haendel and all of our guests on our website, radiohealthjournal.org. For more behind the scenes, follow Radio Health Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Our writer-producer is Kristen Farah. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. I'm Elizabeth Westfield.